Hi, I'm Jono Wong from Team E, tricking team in Sydney, based in Sydney, and I've been tricking for about 7 years now. Since I was very young, I always had a trampoline and I'd muck around the trampoline a lot. And my parents kind of saw this and they took me to a recreational gymnastics program that was like after school care. And I did that for a few years until I grew out of it. I was doing massive dive rolls off the mini tramps, and my, I guess, coach at the time said I should go try find a real gymnastics centre to train at. And so when I was about, I guess I stopped for a while, and I found a gymnastics centre again when I was about in year 6, so I might have been 11 or 12. I started learning like competitive gymnastics, and I kept training. I trained a lot until I was about, until 2001, which was when I was in year 11, and I quit at that stage. Quit at that stage, and because it wasn't really fulfilling, it wasn't what I was looking for anymore, and I just wanted to learn some crazy capoeira tricks at the time. That's what I thought I was looking for. So I went and did some capoeira for a good solid, I guess about a year. Trained that really hard, like 3 to 4 times a week. Also at the same time I was doing a bit of breakdancing stuff as well, so just mostly power moves, not much flavor because that's harder. Did capoeira for a while, and I happened to meet Morgan at our adult gymnastics program in 2003 about, and that's when we started, I guess, tricking together. But at the time we didn't know it was called tricking. It was just copying videos off the internet, all the capoeira videos, and Anis in his French Open and US Open extreme martial arts competition videos, and Steve Tirada, and I guess Seshimaru at the time as well, and yeah, all those elite trickers when they were younger, and that's how we taught ourselves how to trick. And it brings us to today, 2010, 11 now, actually, 2011. So that's about, 7 years of tricking. So when we first started tricking, it's when samplers, I guess, on, is it Bylang? Bylang website? Bylang, yeah. I think it's Bylang. So samplers were starting to be made, and at the time there were no Australian samplers out. So we didn't think that there was an Australian tricking community, so to speak. But we did find, before we even knew we were tricking, we found this guy called Brendan Shee, and he was tricking with a team, that actually was a tricking team, called High Tricks United, HTU. Brendan actually started, we kind of stole him into our team because he trained with us a lot and we became pretty good friends. So we started Team E back then to become a proper tricking team. So Team E and HTU, we used to train a lot together, or sometimes, and do mock battles and whatnot. And that was basically the community at the time. We didn't think that there was anyone in any other state at the time tricking. I think it was about 2005 or 2006 where we released our first tricking sampler as Team E, the 4 of us, myself, Morgan, Alvin and Brendan. And once we released that on either tricks tutorials, I think it was back then, pretty sure it was, I think Scotty and John had also been training, and they actually were tricking as well in Queensland, and they were yet to release a sampler. And after we released our sampler, they contacted us and we started talking through MSN and I think tricks tutorials, forums and whatnot. Just talking about tricking and realizing that there were other trickers around in Australia. And so The Brisbane guys, Scotty and John, also knew trickers down in Melbourne, so we were able to get in contact with them as well. At the time it was Robin Brown, Evan Barwise, Pat Brown as well, and Marcus, I don't know his last name. So they had Team GS down in Melbourne. So there was Team Inversion up in Queensland, and there was Team E in Sydney, and Team GS, which is Gravity Sucks, in Melbourne. And as we started to communicate more, we organised the first ATG in 2007, and that was the first time we actually all came together, like all 3 states on the east coast of Australia. Yes. And that was the first time we all got together, and yeah, it's been history since that. Alright, so the first ATG was so awesome. It was seriously the first time that a lot of us had even met other trickers from Australia. So in a sense it was epic. Like, we'd only seen each other through samplers and talked online, and to actually meet each other. I remember the first time we got to Robin's house, because back then it was small enough for us to stay in one person's house. It was epic. Like, yeah, there was just so much man love in one little living room. It was just fantastic. A lot of dry humping and yeah, cuddling, spooning. There was a lot of spooning involved in that first gathering. Yeah, it was fantastic. Just being able to share a passion with other trickers from around Australia was just awesome. Yeah, so the first ATG in 2007, there would have been about 7 or 8 of us, or maybe a bit more, 9, 10 in this one house that we stayed at. And there are other trickers down in Melbourne, because it was in Melbourne for that first ATG. And yeah, it was just hanging out and loving just being with other trickers and mucking around and stupid stuff. And I remember we went to the aquatic centre there and did some really stupid stuff, like this bouncy caterpillar thing in the water. That was hilarious. Yeah, and again, lots of spooning and man love involved in the first ATG. So yeah, definitely my major influences have been Seshimaru and Steve Terada, and I guess from the first videos I ever watched, Anthony Atkins comes to mind as well. And there was so many more. Like, there's many more people in videos that I just didn't know the names of, but that I was learning tricking from. A lot of capoeira bits and pieces as well, because I was still heavily into capoeira when it first begun. So yeah, but mostly like yeah, Seshimaru and Steve Terada, I guess. Who do I watch today? There's just so many trickers out there, it's almost hard to name every tricker out there. Instead of watching specific trickers, I think I just look more for the things that aren't being done so much. So the tricks, well, I guess traditionally tricking now, there's a lot of kicking combos and power swing throughs. It's all about, you know, those power and the spinning tricks as well. And I just like to mix it up and make sure that I'm still doing things that people aren't doing, or a few people are doing. So I like the innovative and creativity of tricking, and fusing that with, you know, bits and pieces of breakdancing that you see people do in tricking, and, you know, various other styles that mold into, yeah, what tricking can be. So again, Seshimaru is still doing crazy stuff, and Safari from Norway, I think, is kind of classified as disastrous as well. Danny Graham, I do like the bigger kicking things that he's doing, like his hurricane kick. That's just like phenomenal. I mean, Anis is still always awesome to watch. Like, he's got such an awesome power and flow and technique. That's just, yeah, so good. A person that not many people know about, Mutz from Team Mem. I stole a few of his tricks when I went to Bergen in 2008, and yeah, they're like so much so a part of me, it's just not funny now. I wish he would bring out more stuff so I could steal more, bite more tricks from him, because he does exactly what I do. He will just try and do something and create something new that not everyone's doing, while still being able to do, you know, all the double corks and double beach twists and all the doubles and all the other kicking tricks, chip 9 doubles and that sort of thing. So yeah. Other than that, other influences, there's a lot of people in Australia influence me, and at the same time as being, you know, my really good friends, best friends, they also are my rivals at the same time, because without that friendship and rivalry to push me to my limits, you know, I wouldn't be the person I am today. So, you know, big names, Scotty Skelton, John McClay, Phil Gibbs, Ethan, damn, I hate listing names. Yeah, of course, Morgan, my brother Jolan, Mitch, Jeffries, all my students that I teach, everyone from Dinner, Liam Friend, Lachlan Wright, Tim Smith even, I'm missing one, Jake Anderson, man, they've all just come up so hard this year, and you know, you can't have your students beating you, so you always have to be on top of their game, your own game, beat your students, so yeah. Training wise, finding the time to train is like hard these days. We used to train a lot at our Castleville Gymnastics Centre 2 days a week, and our own gymnastics centre at least another twice a week. So that would have been, what, 4 times a week, plus training at the beach in summer or parks or whatever. But nowadays it's harder to find that time, and I'm getting older, 26, so you can have one good session a week where you can bust out heaps of big stuff, whilst training foundation stuff with my students 3 times a week, doing little bits and pieces at gatherings and once a month. But yeah, mostly 1 to 2 times a week proper training, and everything in between is just, you know, foundation stuff with my students and mucking around, having like expression sessions, or just mucking around with little things with my students. Yeah, it's really my training.